My name is Sylvia. I'm 38 years old, a part-time worker, and a full-time housewife. Until recently, my life revolved around my only daughter, Melody. She graduated from college last year and moved out, leaving me alone with my husband Victor, who is now 50. With Melody gone, I finally had a little more time to breathe. But just when I thought I could reclaim a piece of myself, life threw me an unexpected twist. Victor and I met on a blind date. From the very first meeting, we clicked. Things moved fast, and before I knew it, we were married. Soon after, Melody came into our lives, a blessing I cherish more than anything. I had no experience raising a child, but I was determined to give her the best life possible. So when she was born, I quit my job and dedicated myself entirely to being a stay-at-home mom. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was exhausting. I did everything: cooking, cleaning, childcare, while my husband did nothing. If he finished work early, he went drinking. On his days off, he went out for fun. And if he stayed home, he locked himself in his room, lounging around like a guest in his own house. But the worst part wasn't his absence, it was his attitude. Being a housewife is easy. You get to relax and live for free. That's what he actually said to me. He truly believed that raising a child, running a household, and managing everything alone was easy. I thought about leaving him many times, but I didn't want to break up my family just because my husband was lazy and condescending. I told myself it was better for Melody to grow up with both parents. So I shifted my mindset. Instead of waiting for Victor to step up, I decided I'd raise my daughter on my own. He was nothing more than a paycheck, and for a while, that worked. A new battle begins, but when Melody entered middle school, another problem emerged. Victor started draining our finances. I need money for company expenses. I have to cover business entertainment. Over and over, he demanded large sums of money under these excuses. And of course, he never considered how it impacted our household. Bills piled up. Groceries felt like a luxury. I had no choice. I started working part-time to help make ends meet. Yet even then, Victor found new ways to belittle me. Don't talk to me about work. You're just a part-timer. What kind of job can a woman even do? It's basically playtime. I swallowed the insults, but deep down, I swore I'd make him pay for every word someday. The call that changed everything. One freezing winter night, the house phone rang. The sound jolted me awake. I picked it up, my stomach twisting with unease. Sylvia, it's your uncle. Your mother, she's been rushed to the hospital. It's serious. The world around me blurred. My mother, my kind, patient mother, who had lived alone since my father passed, was fighting for her life. I barely registered my own actions as I threw on a coat and shook Victor awake. He grumbled, clearly irritated, but I begged him to take the car and drive me to the hospital. The ride there was silent except for the frantic pounding of my heart. After my father passed away, my mother lived a simple, quiet life. My father had been a strong, dependable man, and my mother had always seemed peaceful beside him. Even after he was gone, I still saw his presence in the way she carried herself, the way she listened, the way she consoled me when— You dragged me out of bed in the middle of the night for this? What a waste of my time. Hey, let's just go home already. I had been so consumed with worry, I'd completely forgotten he was even there. My hands clenched into fists. I swallowed my anger and spoke as evenly as I could. Go ahead. Go home without me. If my mother could hear anything in her unconscious state, the last thing I wanted her to hear was him. Victor stood up with exaggerated annoyance, shaking his head like he was the victim. Titch, all this fuss for what? It's not like she even has money to leave behind. Useless old hag. Silence crashed over the room. Every relative in the room turned to look at him in stunned disbelief. I could feel their eyes darting between me and him, waiting for my reaction. But I didn't give him one. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and spoke in a tone colder than I'd ever used before. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. In fact, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. They looked at me in concern, but I simply smiled. I'm divorcing him. That morning, I returned home just as Victor was leaving for work. Without hesitation, I packed a single suitcase, just my essentials. I sent it to my uncle's house and walked out the door. I had planned to divorce Victor in a few years after he retired, but after what he said at the hospital, no more waiting. I checked into a business hotel and made a call to the lawyer I had been consulting in secret. That night, my phone rang. I didn't even have to check the screen. I knew it was him. "Hey, where the hell are you?" His voice was sharp, irritated. "Your mom's still in the hospital, right? You don't have to be there 24/7. The funeral isn't even happening yet. Just come home and make dinner already." I closed my eyes. This man had never understood me. He never would. "Leave me alone, Victor. I'm not coming home. Ever." A beat of silence. Then, "What?" "I'm divorcing you." For a moment, he said nothing. Then I heard it, the snicker. That same condescending laugh I'd endured for years. "Ha, if you think you can do that, go ahead and try. You're just a housewife with a part-time job. What are you gonna do without me?" And he hung up. I stared at my phone, my heart steady. I had expected that response. What I didn't expect. A few days later, he called me again. This time, his voice was shaking. "What the hell is this? Divorce papers, alimony?" I smiled to myself as I listened to the panic in his voice. "I told you, Victor, I'm divorcing you. And the alimony, that's for the years of mental anguish you put me through." For the first time in our marriage, I was the one in control, and I had never felt so free. "What? What are you talking about?" Victor's voice cracked through the phone, panic creeping in. I stayed calm. Every insult, every cruel word, every time you belittled me, I documented it all. In my diary, on my blog. My lawyer says it's solid evidence. Evidence? He scoffed, but there was hesitation in his tone. He had no idea I had been preparing for this divorce for years. "Any further communication will go through my lawyer. Goodbye, Victor." I ended the call before he could respond. A short time later, the divorce was finalized. We had $200,000 in savings. Legally, it was to be split between us. But after factoring in the alimony for the years of harassment, Victor's share amounted to exactly zero. I kept everything. Of course, he fought it. "That's my money. I earned it. There's no such thing as a wife's share. And that house, your useless mother's house, that's mine too." But my lawyer was prepared. Every time Victor tried to argue, he was calmly shut down. "Mr. Victor, if we go to mediation or court, the legal fees will be substantial. Are you prepared for that expense?" The mention of money silenced him. When the dust settled, he sneered at me one last time. "You took all my money. You're evil. You know that." My lawyer shot me a worried glance, as if expecting me to be hurt. But I wasn't. Victor's words were nothing more than the pitiful howling of a man who had lost everything. Less than 2 months after the divorce, my mother passed away. With the support of my relatives, I handled the funeral as the chief mourner. It was a painful time, but I felt peace knowing I had been there for her until the end. Then, one day, I got a call from my uncle. "Sylvia, my wife and I need to talk to you. Can you meet us for lunch?" I agreed, though a small part of me was nervous. At the restaurant, we barely settled into our seats before my uncle got straight to the point. "Victor called me. He wanted to borrow money." I froze. "What?" "I already knew about your divorce," he continued, "and if I had answered the phone, I would have told him off immediately. But my wife picked up instead." My aunt smirked. I was curious, so I let him talk. Pretended to be sympathetic, asked him why he needed money. I leaned in, and my uncle sighed. "Turns out, your ex-husband is in deep trouble." Trouble? He gambled away his salary. When he ran out of cash, he borrowed from consumer credit companies. But when his debts piled up, they started garnishing his wages. His boss found out, and instead of facing the humiliation, he took early retirement. Wait. My mind raced. Didn't he get severance pay? Not exactly, my uncle said grimly. He took an advance payment years ago. It was added to his salary and bonuses over time. But when he retired early, he had to pay back the difference. And since he was already broke, I murmured. My uncle nodded. He's got no savings, no income, and now no way to get another job. A wave of realization hit me. So that's why he stopped showing me his pay stubs. That must have been when he started dipping into the advance payment system. I turned back to my aunt, who was grinning mischievously. "So, what did you tell him?" I asked, already knowing it would be good. She chuckled. I gasped, pretended to be shocked, and said, "Oh my gosh, Let me talk to my husband about it. Then I hung up. Laughter bubbled up inside me, and I couldn't hold it back. For years, Victor had treated me like nothing. He had belittled me, insulted me, and dismissed my worth. And now, he was alone, broke, and desperate. Meanwhile, I was free, and I had never felt lighter in my entire life. It wasn't long before I learned that my ex-husband had been desperately calling not just my uncle, but every relative he could think of, begging for money. As if anyone would lend him a dime. Even the guests at my mother's wake had witnessed his disgraceful outburst at the hospital. There was no sympathy left for him. I figured he had run out of options. Then, one day, an unknown number appeared on my phone screen. I hesitated but answered. "Hey, it's been a while. How's things?" A voice I had never heard before, sickly sweet, almost oily. It took me a second to realize it was Victor. Goosebumps crawled up my arms. "What do you want?" I asked flatly. "I went by your mom's house. They're doing construction. Are you moving in?" I kept my voice steady. "No, I'm renting it out." I had considered living there, but knowing Victor, I decided against it. The last thing I wanted was to give him a clue about my whereabouts. Oh, his tone shifted. "Then where do you live now?" I smirked. "A condo. With a concierge. People can't just walk in." Silence. Then, "A condo." His voice cracked with disbelief. No wonder. Victor assumed I had barely scraped by after our divorce. He had no idea that I had inherited a fortune. The truth was, my father had been a tax accountant. When he fell ill years ago, he arranged for a trusted colleague to manage my mother's inheritance. Even back then, I had doubts about Victor's financial habits. So when my father passed, I renounced my share of the inheritance on paper. Instead, my mother inherited everything. Victor never questioned it. When he asked, I told him my father's estate was in debt due to the house mortgage. He didn't bother looking into it. And now, with my mother's passing, everything was transferred to me. It was far beyond the alimony I received from the divorce. And best of all, since we were no longer married, Victor couldn't touch a cent of it. Of course, I wasn't going to explain any of this to him. Victor cleared his throat. "If you can afford a condo, why don't you lend me some money? Right, Sylvia, please?" I let out a short laugh. "We even had a child together," he added pathetically. "The only thing I'm grateful for in our marriage is Melody," I said coldly. "But that's it. You left me to raise her alone. You looked down on me for years. Our time together was unbearable. Do you really think I would help you now?" He panicked. Whoa, let's not dwell on the past. Let's put it behind us. Maybe we can even get back together." I nearly choked. "Absolutely not," I said, disgusted. Victor had the audacity to sigh as if I was being unreasonable. "But you always made a big deal about me being a full-time employee and you only working part-time. That means I have a pension, right? A retirement bonus, right? So I'll be fine, right?" His voice cracked. I smirked. What's wrong, Victor? You are getting a retirement bonus, right? You should use it wisely." Silence. "Well then, goodbye." I hung up, and I blocked his number. The shame I once felt for having married him was replaced with something else. Pity. But only for a second. About 6 months later, Melody came to stay with me for a few days. She walked around my condo, admiring the spacious layout. "Mom, I love your new place. I wish I could live in a house like this someday." I smiled. "Your place is nice too. You told me you liked it." "True, but I can't afford something like this with my salary." "Well, it's only my first year," she said, taking a sip of coffee. She smiled, relaxed and content. We never talked about Victor. Then suddenly, "Mom, actually, there's someone I'd like you to meet." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, you have a boyfriend?" She blushed. "Don't laugh, but he's a tax attorney." I burst out laughing. "A tax attorney, like Grandpa?" She nodded. "And there's more. One day, I found a book on his shelf. It was written by Grandpa's favorite author. I thought, maybe it's fate, you know." My laughter softened into a warm smile. "Melody, what a wonderful coincidence. Grandpa must be so happy." She smiled shyly, and for the first time in a long time, my heart felt full. I couldn't wait to meet the man who would stand by my daughter's side. Someone kind, intelligent, and nothing like Victor. a new beginning for both of us.